here we go. We got an orc bust sent in by Christopher Crawford. Chris says, "Hi, Follygon. My name is Chris. I'm a student at the Art Institute of Atlanta, majoring in game art and design, and I aspire to be a character artist for games. I was hoping that you could look over my orc bust to see if I'm on the right track before I do anything else or change or alter anything. I'm fairly new to art, and I am a beginning artist, so go easy on me." Oh no, Chris, we're gonna go extra tough on you today. No, I'm just kidding. We'll keep it on par with everybody else. I will very quickly say the objective of a critique is not to send in something and get praised for doing everything right. There's never going to be anything that's perfect. Don't expect that. The objective of a critique is obviously, and I think everybody knows this, is obviously to improve and get better. So let's keep that in mind as we push forward on this guy and some of our other critiques. Cool. So we got an orc. I'm gonna delete these guys just so we can clean up the file here, so we're not getting too bogged down. But in terms of just general stuff, because you weren't extremely specific, change anything. Yeah, so you're kind of just general critique, which is absolutely fine. So we got some subdivs here. Let's take a look at what we got. I'll even turn on perspective here. The first thing that I noticed here is how the shape of your character's head and just the general forms that you have going on here for your character are very, very, what's the word? Bubbly, unrefined, all over the place. So what I would do is reassess some of the major shape stuff that you got going on here. So specifically, what you don't want is you don't want a situation in which someone says, "Is this intentional?" You always want to be intentional with the strokes and form that you are creating. And some of this feels very unintentional. And then the shape of the head kind of starts to break down a little bit as we rotate around to the side and we start to get super squashed. And I think you could pull this off, and I will try to keep most of the stuff that you have going on here in terms of how squashed this guy is feeling. But this in combination with the kind of bug eye effect that we're getting here starts to feel very awkward. So let me go through this and talk about some other stuff here real quick. In terms of doing little scars and textures and stuff, you are not at the stage where you want to do stuff like that. You really want to take a step back on a lot of the stuff that you've created here. This bottom lip and these lips in general feel really crazy. I think you can have a big mouth, and I think that can work. But the way that this feels very stuck on, that's what I'm looking for. Stuck on. A lot of the facial features that you've created feel very stuck on and not integrated with the rest of the head. So your head and the shapes of your head all kind of flow and work together. So for instance, for your lip, it affects the shape of your chin for all characters, whether it's stylized or realistic. All these forms are going to interact and work together, which is why this area of your cheek is so hard to work on, because you have your eyes, your nose, your lips, and even a little bit of your ear all flowing and connecting right there, affecting that shape. So that's why it's a really tough area, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of others. So let's start with your lip here as an example. The lower lip here, it feels very stuck on, so I would start kind of integrating this a little bit more. We have these kind of major muscle groups that flow down from the corners of the lip, and instead of getting that like tight line the way that you have it, kind of going all the way out to the edge here, instead what I would do, create a quick mask, and kind of start tucking this lip in a little bit earlier. I'm using my pinch brush. I'm just gonna soften some of this and start getting that feeling a little bit better. You're pretty heavy here in the stylization. I'm not sure if you're using a reference. You didn't include one, but I would highly encourage you to use reference. At 100%, you should be using reference, especially at this kind of level where you are currently. I think it would help you out quite a bit in terms of getting rid of a lot of those larger question marks that you have going on. So I'll continue to blend these lifts into the chin area a little bit more, get these feeling a little bit more integrated, which is the word that I think we'll focus on for this character. And I think already that lower lip and chin combo is starting to feel just a million times better, starting to feel less stuck on. In terms of your jawline, I would come through here with like a pinch brush and start sharpening up some of these quick transitions, not leaving any questions for your viewer or even for yourself. Remember, we don't want anything to feel unintentional. We want every stroke and every form that we create to feel like we meant to do it. So we'll continue to do that a little bit, and I think that's starting to feel a lot better through here. Awesome. In terms of, for example, of stuff feeling unintentional, this shape, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. That's just not how, any form or muscle works here around the face. What I would like to see is this shape kind of carried up through here, and you can keep the volume that you've created there, but you probably want to wrap this all the way up the side of the jaw a little bit more. And this is also just creating a nice kind of curve for the entire, lower half of our face. In terms of the cheekbone, feeling very stuck on here. Essentially for this, we have the zygomatic flowing all the way back here behind the ear. I think in terms of placement and everything, it's fine. I don't have any issues with it. But I would come through here and just make your decision feel like a little bit more in line with what we would want to see anatomically from something that is within the realm of human anatomy. So an orc is going to have a skull, and if you have a skull, a human-ish skull, you're going to have a cheekbone for your eye socket and everything else, which is why these brows are feeling really weird. They don't feel very solid. They feel, again, stuck on, not like we're getting a very good eye cavity, and that's also in part due to our eyelids here, which if we do some quick masking and pull in a little bit, we can start to get this feeling a little bit better. I've done a lot of videos on eyelid order and a lot of stuff with eyes, so I don't want to parrot a lot of that over and over and over again. So maybe you want to check out some of my past streams where I have worked specifically on eyes. If you need a recommendation, if you're in here in chat, we can maybe grab one really quick. But there are a ton of stuff where I've worked on eyes, so I don't think you'll have any trouble finding some of that. I'll just kind of continue to get some of these more bony landmarks through here. I think your eyes are going to take probably quite a bit more time than what we have today to work on them. But one of the main things I want you to work on here is making the corners of your eyes feel a little bit more synced up, because right now your eyes feel like very awkwardly open and not how we would expect the actual form to connect up there. And then I'm just going to change some of the angles and shapes here. There's a lot going on here that we want to correct. So like these huge cavities we're getting feel very awkward and just need some work. And then in terms of eyelids, you always want that lower lid hitting underneath of that top lid from the profile. And all the way up through here, we got quite a bit of stuff that we'd probably want to correct and change. I don't want to sit here and work on that too much, so let's look at your nose. Nose feels a little awkward, not like we're getting a lot of, it feels very unfinished. So for instance, your nostrils, I think you can have like this look that you have going on, but your nostrils, I see this all the time. People always sculpt in this form underneath the nose. It's not how a nose works. It's not how a nose on pretty much any creature on Earth works. So we want to kind of flow that nostril into our lip a little bit better. I wouldn't exaggerate the, I can't remember what that is called, philtrum, something like that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Don't exaggerate that so much. I see that a lot too. It's getting very representative, very cave painting-ish in terms of what we were talking about earlier, in terms of representation of shape instead of what something actually looks like. And we can pull some of that, tighten some of that shape. And the transitions down here aren't super great. Kind of plane that out a little bit better. I think that feels a bit better. Let's see, let's fix your nose a little bit more. Geometry is a little stretched here, so I'll try to do this kind of quick. Always try to get a tighter transition around your nose. You can soften the form after you do, but right now it just feels, like I said, very stuck on. And just kind of beef this up as it's got like these really tight transitions that aren't looking super great. And then let's just make sure that our nostril is defined. Remember, nothing left to question, everything intentional. And then up here, if you got this like pig nose going up, you're probably gonna get a lot of folds and wrinkles up through there, so you might want to, after spending time working on the most basic shape, think about adding in a quick little fold, maybe something real quick like that, and then play around with inflating it a bit more. And then let's see what else we got here. Here's some more examples of stuff that feels really unintentional and just stuck on. I'll exaggerate the form and pockmarks that you have going on here so you can see them a little bit better. But that is definitely the kind of stuff that we want to avoid. So I'll just step down in your subdivs and kind of trim and smooth that out very quickly. If anything, we can kind of work on the transitional plane of the head here for the skull. Let's see, same thing back here. Let's kind of clean some of this up real quick. Let's look at this from the top view. Skull always gets bigger on its way back, so the front of your face is typically a lot smaller, so that also makes this feel very awkward. So make sure you're looking at those extreme views, really thinking about that stuff, and the little pointy for the back of the head. And I'll do a little bit more softening up here. So I've sharpened up your cheekbone here, but that doesn't mean that you can't step back down your subdivision level and smooth and clean that up. It's just that we want a situation in which that form is feeling a lot more intended, whereas before it was kind of blobbed on there and feeling a little wonky. You also want to blend between your ear and your jawline a little bit better. Just another place where things are feeling a little too stuck on. Cool. I think that's pretty much it in terms of general things that I would look for and start working on and correcting. I see this so often. Everybody does this, it seems like, that sends in a character anymore for critique. But when you insert that ear on top, make sure your skull's not like getting sucked in underneath with it. Your skull does not change shape when you add something on top of it. Bone does not flex. So kind of make sure that when you insert a secondary form, whether it be an ear or anything else, that you are making sure that your primary form is not changing underneath or getting ruined. Neck is just way too flat from the front. It feels very awkward. So let's go through here and try rounding out some of this. Ooh. Spider Joey, thank you for the follow there. Appreciate it, man. Cool. So, again, that's some of the stuff that I would take a look at. Mainly just making sure that you're being intentional with the forms that you are creating. On top of that, think of the things that you put on top of your primary form. So make sure that as you start inserting some of this stuff, it is affecting the form around it, but not affecting it in a way to destroy your most primary shape. So we looked at the lips and how we could start getting those to blend a little bit more into the face and the chin and really kind of affect the transition between those two areas and landmarks. Same thing with the cheekbone flowing back here, right? We looked at that. We looked at our eyes a little bit. We looked at our brow and how the bone was feeling way too wavy and wobbly and all over the place. We looked at the back of our ears where, you know, our skull is starting to dip in. It's still dipping in quite a bit, so there's some more, you know, there's some more adjustments that need to happen here. Obviously, I don't have enough time to go through and sit here and sculpt on this for the next couple hours, but I think that'll be good for you moving forward. So I wish you luck, and I look forward to seeing this dude after you work on him a little bit more.